Hello? Is
Hello,
anyone there?
hello. Who's out there? Is anybody
Hello?
home? Is anybody home? Hello.
Hello?
Who's there? Who's there?
Who's there?
Hello, hello,
Hello?
hello, hello.
Robert Sapolsky is a neurobiologist and psychologist. I was watching a lecture he had on schizophrenia. I learned a lot, especially in its relation to Parkinson's and the neurochemistry of the illness. However, he had one point I really disagreed with. And, well, the exact quote is, schizophrenia is one of the most horrific ways biology can go wrong. And he uses the statistic that 50% of schizophrenic people attempt suicide. Now, that is not something to laugh at. It's a considerably high number. But I want to discuss the why of it. He speaks about a case study, a medicated schizophrenic in his third year of college, who's experiencing severe delusion over his sexual desire. And he felt that Satan had possessed him to have these desires, and that they are immoral and wrong. So naturally, he castrates himself in a very brutal manner. And I believe he was a medical student, so he understood the endocrinology of what he was experiencing slightly more than most people. So he also attempted to remove his adrenal gland. This was an attempt to stop his testosterone production, but he hit a blood vessel and had to be rushed to the ER. And when he was rushed to the ER, he wasn't looking for them to stop the bleeding and to fix him. He was just like, hey, can you help remove this adrenal gland? Obviously, probably in a much more frantic state. I suppose his idea was Satan can't make him have sexual desire if he doesn't have testosterone. And this is a tragic event caused by a tragic illness, but why did it happen? Look at the way his schizophrenia presented itself. And isn't it odd how delusion often manifests itself in these very strangely pointed ways? Why is it presented like this? It would be reasonable to make the assumption that if this man wasn't schizophrenic, he may be just a horny, celibate Christian, and he would have dealt with it that way. His schizophrenia took his underlying beliefs and values and radicalized them in a way. I don't know this man's story in detail. I'm not stating this assertion, this fact of that's what would have happened. This is just speculation on his case. See, schizophrenics struggle with metaphoric thinking. Things that most people will take figuratively are often taken literally by schizophrenics. For example, the phrase, fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Most people know it's a Muhammad Ali quote and understand it's explaining his individual fighting style, but schizophrenics may literally imagine someone flying with butterfly wings and stinging someone with their little stinger. And Sapolsky talks about this type of thinking, but doesn't relate it to the delusional thinking that isn't influenced by others, as in non-conversational delusion. What happens when a person's unconscious mind is taken fully literally? The Christian belief that Satan is making you do this evil thing, that's an incredibly common belief in the West, but when a schizophrenic is presented with that, they take it literally. Christians don't take what they're saying literally. If they did, then there would be a lot more chaos. But let me, here, for my next point, let me preface, I'm not arguing that schizophrenic people should not be medicated, that we should stop therapy, but I believe we have to radically change the way we treat schizophrenia in therapeutic context. The issue of schizophrenia, seen as an incredibly logical and concrete battle fought by the therapist to help their patient, but the truth is schizophrenics don't work logically the same way others will. When someone is psychotic, we should learn to work with their delusion and understand its nature. We cannot act as a force of suppression. I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I've greatly lessened my symptoms through shadow work and unconscious confrontation. And that's something that medically should not be possible. We have an incredible control over our neurochemistry that a lot of people don't take advantage of. I won't go into the specifics of my mental illness because it's the internet and that's kind of cringe, but I will talk about more individual studies. So, the number one voice heard by schizophrenic people is, okay, number 1 is God, number 2 is Satan, and the third one is whatever current sitting president is. And isn't that incredibly odd, thinking about it? Hallucinations are caused by complex chemical and metabolic changes that activate areas of the brain that really shouldn't be active. But why is that hallucination so pointed? Why isn't it just a random pitch or white noise? Why does it express itself in an audible voice? And I've come to the conclusion our perception and internal conflict shape our interpretation of our weird, overactive synapses. Now, imagine if we teach schizophrenics and people with bipolar how to interpret things like this. And how many people will be able to look inside themselves and discover the root of their delusion and their hallucinations. See, I no longer have audible or visual hallucinations, but I do have occasional ringing and a phenomena called visual snow. And it gets worse every once in a while, but especially in stressful situations. In stressful situations, my visual snow gets worse. And if you don't know, it's like little dots all over my vision, and sometimes they're moving, and it's weird. Is that a hallucination? Is that, I mean, I suppose it is, but is that a symptom of bipolar? I feel like it's gotten worse over the years, but I can't point to one thing and be like, that's what made it worse. Which is odd. I'm going to switch gears now to Parkinson's. And this may blow some of your minds, but Parkinson's and schizophrenia are similar things on opposite ends of the spectrum. And don't jump to any conclusions with what I just said. So, we have this little part in our brains called the substantia nigra, and it sits in our basal ganglia. It has a lot to do with our dopamine production and our movement. People with Parkinson's disorder have much less dopamine in that part of their brains than what is typical, and this causes shrinkage and tremors begin to occur. The substantia nigra controls a lot of movement and coordination, but what we've discovered in Parkinson's people is when they're introduced to this compound called L-DOPA or levodopa, they stop having tremors. And L-DOPA helps replace the missing dopamine in Parkinson's patients' brains. The issue is, oftentimes, the only area with the dopamine shortage is the substantia nigra. Oftentimes, when Parkinson's patients are exposed to too much L-DOPA, they start having symptoms of psychosis. They become indistinguishable from a schizophrenic, and if you know anything about antipsychotics, they do almost the complete opposite of L-DOPA. The antipsychotics block dopamine receptors. And when schizophrenics are exposed to too high dosages of antipsychotics, they start having tremors. That raises so many questions, doesn't it? It just started raining. I don't know. Those are the two main things I want to talk about. It's just very interesting. Another fact you'll hear a lot in any AP Psych class or anything like that is there has never been a blind schizophrenic person. Or that's not true. There's never been a person that has been born blind that is schizophrenic. Isn't that odd? I have no idea. I don't know. I need to do more research on a lot of these things. And don't take me as this beacon of knowledge in anything I've said here, because I'm an ignorant person, but, you know, it's still cool to think about. I got a new camera, if you couldn't tell. I took some time lapses. I think I'll show some images on screen. That would be cool. I'm very excited about it. I've been taking a lot of pictures of my cat and stuff. He's sitting right next to me. He's a cool little guy. I love him. The rain is very loud. There's actually something else I want to talk about. Like, when a goose dies, or when a loved one dies, okay, a lot of people think this is morbid, but I don't think it's really morbid. I think it's respectful, and I think it's cool. I want to take his ashes, or someone's ashes, and put them in a painting. Or maybe his bones, I don't know. Because, like, what's he going to do with them, He's not going to use them after he dies. It would be nice just to have a little goose sitting on my desk, and he's there. I went inside, and he's staring at me through the window, because he's not an inside cat. And I feel sad for him. Here. I'll take a video of what I'm seeing right now. The poor goose. Oh. I really like the name Art Talks. Well, it's not just Art Talks, it's Art Talks, you know? It's like, it's saying the same thing, but it's like a double meaning. Because art does talk. But also, I'm talking about art. Well, not really, I'm not right now. But I guess that's what the psyched part is. You know, I was planning on talking about this type of thing more. About psychology and stuff, and the psychology behind art. And like inspiration and things like that. Because I think I've taken on an interesting role as an artist. And joint psychologist. It's like double classing in D&D. I just realized I was supposed to actually be talking about art. I did some clothes. Isn't that crazy? With like red and black ink. I used these old calligraphy pens. I'm a big fan of them because it's like brushes. Like there's multiple tines of metal. I'm assuming it's aluminum, like layered on top of each other, they're all flat, and it's very disorganized. And especially with like ink on fabric, it gets like really messy, but in a cool way, and I like it. But I put it in the washing machine and it looks like crap now, and you can't even tell what was there. To be honest, I just wanted it for like 1 or 2 days to go to the Ren Fair. The Ren Fair was cool. There were cool people. I bought some pins. The pins are very cool. Yes. I was going to do like 15 minutes of talking about pins at some point in time, because I have so many cool pins that I just want. Pins are cool, man. Why would you not like pins? Like all the different ways they work and stuff. I think overall fountain pens are my favorite. There's so much variety and stuff. At the Ren Fair, I got these 2 pins. They were like hand done on a lathe and stuff. And you know, I think a lot of people get turned off about the idea of a Ren Fair just because it seems like a bunch of nerds just standing there and being all medieval and stuff. It's not really medieval. You can't even call it a Ren Fair. It's not the Renaissance. It's nothing like the Renaissance. I don't think that's the plan. It's just a bunch of people selling art and stuff, and that's where I go for. I like the art, and I like dressing up and seeing weird people. Yeah, I don't know. That's it for now, Chief.